Hello, everyone. Welcome. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to Lunch with a Boxer here at Pacific University. Each week, our admissions office is hosting some of our key people around campus to answer questions for students and their families and supporters. And this week, we have the amazing Mike Shingle from the Academic and Career Advising Center. You're going to get all of those good nuggets about what classes will be like, transferring credits, all of that. Mike will cover it. And he's got an amazing team that supports him and students over these next few months. So just a bit of housekeeping. Throughout this session, we are going to be doing information from Mike, but we'll have time for questions at the end. Feel free to submit those questions via the chat. I can read those out. You can also send those over to me privately, and I can make sure that those are read anonymously. So we'll have time for a Q&A, but if any of you are watching this recording, we're going to ensure that we have those links set up underneath this recording. But be sure to check out all of the other sessions that we're having, and we'll continue to have quite a few more over the next few weeks. So welcome everyone to Lunch with a Boxer. And Mike, I'm going to go ahead and send it right over to you. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Maddie. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Shingle. I'm the Director of Academic and Career Advising here at Pacific. And today I'm going to share some services that our office provides, and then also the steps and the process for your student to register for classes and what that looks like over the summer. Can everybody see my screen full size? Maddie, give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Just want to make sure that we're good visually. All right. So we have a team of academic and career advisors, and we have professional advisors in our office who work with students. And I'll describe more about what advising is in a minute. But we partner with our faculty, the faculty who teach classes. We partner with other administrators, and we work one-on-one with students. And when I say that we work one-on-one with students, we really try to meet their individual needs around class planning and around career exploration. So we do a lot of great things in our center, and we do have a physical location in Pacific Hall. So what do we do? What does advising mean, and what does that look like? And how is that different from guidance counseling in high school or other support that high school students may be receiving? So we advise students on classes and classes that help to build a college schedule. We have a fall semester and a spring semester, and throughout each semester, a student will plan for and register for classes. The advisor is somebody who's supportive to that student and to help them make sure that they're taking classes that keep them on track to graduate. We do a lot of career exploration, and we help students who are coming into Pacific as well as those who are graduating from Pacific to look at their different career choices and their different career options. By the way, it's very normal and perfectly okay to be undecided or to have your eye on many different careers or many different majors as a new student. In fact, that's what college is for. It's to do some exploration, to understand how you can become a well-rounded and competitive applicant for jobs, graduate schools, volunteer experiences, things like that. So since we combine academic advising and class planning with career exploration, we're really equipped to help students with the whole package. So that's why we say that we can help students to find meaningful experiences, things like internships, research positions, jobs, and we can help students connect directly with recruiters. So we have a lot of recruiters locally and nationally and worldwide that actually want to handpick Pacific students to work for them or to join their programs. So we're excited to help make those connections. So I'm going to talk about advising and registration more generally, and then about what happens over the summer. So advising is about class selection, and it's about a conversation or an ongoing support from the advisor to the student to help them make decisions. The student will actually be making decisions for the first time on their own. So students will have choices on how to fulfill their general education requirements. Right? What class do you want to take to fulfill your social sciences? What class do you want to take to fulfill your history requirement? What language do you want to take? When do you take writing? Students will be able to decide those things. The advisor helps the student to prepare for that. And then they also will give them support on how to register for classes. Once a student does it once or twice, they're going to get the hang of it. But the advisor is there to help the student with resources. But the student themselves is going to be the one registering for those classes that they've made decisions on. So how does this all work for new students? I'm really excited about this summer because we have a lot of really great opportunities for in-person as well as remote options for summer advising. So after a student deposits to Pacific, we'll actually start reaching out with these details. So if you're somebody who's watching this recording later and you're like, man, I don't want to miss out on anything, you're not, as long as you've deposited to Pacific. So our summer advising events are half-day long experiences where a student will be able to learn about academics and then also get registered for classes. So we have presentations, we have different breakout sessions for different academic interests. Our financial aid office will talk one-on-one with students as well as do a group presentation about general financial aid. We have a presentation on how to support your student if you're a family member or a supporter of a new college student. And we also have sessions about what it's like to work as a college student. The student will have a full hour to meet with an advisor and then ultimately register for classes. So when do all of these things happen, and what does the schedule look like? So during the summer, between July 13th and August 4th, we have 7 event dates. And these specific dates are going to follow that schedule that you see in front of you. So you can see that there's going to be about, 5 to 6 hours or so of activities and interaction. What I will say is that most students finish early. So if you're like, oh no, 5 hours, 6 hours, what are you telling me, Mike? Most students do finish early. We last the whole time in case there's ongoing questions or things that are needed. So our goals for your student during these advising days are to learn about resources, to meet with an advisor and discuss personalized academic options, make decisions, and then register for classes. This event, this is the big deal. This is when you do register and get your fall class schedule, which is a really exciting time. And so these events are really important. And also we're very supportive of just the whole process for students, knowing it might be a time for some reflection or maybe a little bit of nervousness. We totally get that. And that's why you get a full hour with an advisor. All right, so how do you sign up for one of these days? I've got you convinced this is the big day. You're really excited about it. How do you make sure you sign up for one of these, perhaps even one of the earlier ones? Well, after you've deposited, you will get the first step, and it's called the Academic Interest Survey. It is an email that's sent from the Advising Center. It introduces you to all of the advisors, and it also gives you a link to a Qualtrics survey. This is a required survey. Every incoming student has to complete it. We get 100% response rate. So until you complete this, you can't move on. We gather some information, and I'll talk about that in a moment. You do need to have your students submit official high school and any college transcripts. And then any AP or IB scores that you already know about, have those sent. We know that scores come later if you've taken a more recent AP exam. We have a math and language assessment I'll talk in detail about in a moment, a first-year seminar survey, and then you can sign up for one of these days. And completing this first one actually does trigger the rest of these steps for you. So the number one thing that you can do now is keep an eye on your email, because beginning May 1st, as long as you've deposited, beginning May 1st, you're going to get an invitation to complete the academic interest survey. And when I say you are, I mean the student is, the student's email address and the student's school email. It's important to read those emails and then click on that link to do the survey. All right. By the way, I mentioned email. Email is really important, but if you've deposited and you're having trouble with email, or you're not really sure how to get that set up, we do have a tech help desk that is really helpful on those steps. All right, so step one, a little bit more details about this. So why do we collect this and why do we care? This gives the advisor all of the information that they need ahead of time to help prepare for this appointment. So this might be similar to like a pre-health check before you do a doctor's appointment. Sometimes they send those surveys to you where you're checking like, no, I'm not a tobacco user. Yes, I'm walking daily, things like that. So this is going to go into academic information, and this is going to take about a half hour to do, but it's really important that everybody gets it done. This is also the time that students should have information about what AP or IB exams they're doing and any college credits earned before. And it is the first step, and it's the most important step. Transcripts. So high school transcripts, you might already have that in your mind. Like, yes, no problem. I know I need to send my official high school transcripts. Also, don't forget to send those college transcripts, because if you've earned college credit, the credits will be on the college transcript separately from the high school transcript. That's a big point of confusion over the summer is, oh, I sent my transcripts. Well, not the college transcripts, because the high school doesn't contain the college credits. So you want to get those separately sent. Our admissions office is the place to send them, either by snail mail or electronic, because most universities and community colleges these days have the ability to send electronic transcripts. It's pretty easy once you know where that portal is through your college to send those transcripts, but those must come to Pacific. We want to give you all of the credits that you've earned. In fact, it is an admissions requirement for you to send those transcripts to us. If you have questions at any point about how credits transfer, you can talk to your admissions counselor, and they'll get them connected to one of my advisors who can answer those questions for you. All right, so math and language assessments. So these sound scary, and they are really not. The math is just a couple of questions about your experience with math. What level of math did you take before? Did you take geometry or trigonometry? What's your experience like with algebra? Some basic questions. If there's an opportunity to bump a level, there will be some math content that you're quizzed on. It'll be a very short, non-intimidating quiz. But don't be worried or don't be scared about that. It is a required step, just so we know your starting point. By the way, not every major will require something like calculus or statistics or a high-level math class. We do have math classes that are for everyone, including a class that's more about quantitative engagement with math, game theory, all sorts of really fun topics. So that's math. Language. So we require every student to be proficient to what we call the 102 level in a world language. So this means that a student would have to have earned 102 level college credit or higher, or take a credit bearing world language class at Pacific. So if you've earned AP credit for, let's say, Spanish, and you've passed it with a 4 or better, you'll have your language requirement complete. But this language assessment is for students who have taken a language in high school and plan to continue that same language. For example, if you took 3 years of French, you're going to be taking this language assessment. If you are planning to take a new language, or you're planning to do American Sign Language, then you don't need to do this assessment. You either start at the 101 level, or if you're advanced ASL, there will be another way to measure your starting point. But it is important to know that a language is required for all of our degrees, whether it's a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Social Work, Music Therapy, required for everyone. And that's actually a really important quality of a graduating student, is that they have some proficiency and they've learned a little bit of culture, because that actually makes them more competitive in the workforce. A lot of hiring managers want to see a little bit of international and diverse experiences through college. All right, first year seminar. So this is the next step after language and math assessments are done. We have a really cool way for your first year student to interact and meet with other students in an academic setting, and it's called a first year seminar. First year seminar is kind of like a writing class. It's kind of like an academic skill building class, but really it's about engagement. It's about critical conversations, opinions on topics, being able to share their worldviews. First year seminar is where all of that happens. Students will get a choice and they'll get to rank their top 5 first year seminar options. So for example, we might have topics around artificial intelligence. We might have topics around healthcare. We might have topics around politics or culture. We might have topics around Harry Potter. We might have topics around, there's all sorts of different potential topics. So students get to choose and rank those topics. They will likely be given one of their top choices. The past couple of years, we haven't had anybody who did not get one of their top few choices. So this is an opportunity to voice your opinion in that. All right. After all the surveys and all the assessments are done, then you can get to sign up for an advising day. So by the way, all of that happens through May and June. So you have 2 months to get all of those things done. And then you can sign up for your advising day. The quicker you get all of these things done, the quicker you can sign up for one of these days. And the first event is going to be July 13th. And that first one will actually be in person in Forest Grove. So after students have completed those steps, they can sign up for one of these days. Signups are on a first come, first serve basis. And like I said, by the very end of that event, they'll have their fall schedule. So in the Academic and Career Advising Center, we're here to help welcome your student, make sure that they feel like they're transitioning very smoothly to college. And we're also ongoing support. So as career advisors, and we help students do career exploration, make choices around graduate schools they might apply to, other types of opportunities. We're actually a part of their ongoing education. So it's not like you're going to meet us once and it's a see you later type of thing. It's going to stay embedded in the student's education at Pacific. So this is when I'm happy to take questions, if there are any, and yeah.
Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate you going through some of the logistics, because I know students can oftentimes get excited and want to know what's next. And you have an amazing team. So let's see if I've got any questions. I do know that I had a question come in. If my student was on an IEP or 504 plan, can they have one at Pacific?
Yeah, great question. So we do have an Office of Accessibility and Accommodation Services. We do have students go through a process of setting up those accommodations in college. It'll be different slightly than an IEP or a 504, but our Office of Accessibility and Accommodation Services are actually part of our events as well. So services and resources will be talked about, and then we'll tell you how to onboard, so to speak, with OAA. It usually requires some medical documentation, some evaluation from a medical professional or another professional who can state those accommodations. And then our OAA office, the Office of Accessibility and Accommodations, do help students to get those set up for their classes. And that's an important step to do over the summer if you plan on utilizing support services.
Excellent, Mike. And could you mention a little bit about the academic success coaches at Pacific?
Yeah, so we have an academic advisor who is our academic success coordinator. And that means that she helps to do academic coaching support for students. Academic coaching is about helping students to transition to college, knowing how rigorous 4 classes can feel, time management strategies, study skills, why resources are offered and why you should be using them. Like, why do we have a tutoring center? Well, it's because math is hard and we want you to meet with a math tutor, and here's how we help you to do that. These are all free resources that are available to students. Tutoring is free, academic coaching is free. Our main goal is that students feel well equipped to be successful in their classes, especially in the first year. It's tough to transition from high school to college, and we try to make it as easy and as smooth of a transition as possible.
Thank you, Mike. Can you talk a little bit more about career services and internships, especially in that freshman year, maybe what the progression looks like for students?
Yeah, absolutely. So internships are either 4 credit opportunities where the student is earning credit for doing some field work of some kind. For example, if we have an intern who's working at Intel, they might be working 120 hours over the course of the summer, and they'll earn 3 credits for that. So a student can earn academic credit. They can also get paid. They can also get both. They can get credit and get paid. We like to support a lot of paid internships. Our philosophy is around encouraging paid internships, and those recruiters and employers who want students, we tend to give more access to those who have paid internships available, because that's what students want. Students want paid internships. So students can do internships as early as their first year. You can do an internship at any point during the academic year or over the summer. Internships are required in a few select majors, like some of our environmental sciences majors. Music therapy requires an MT internship. There's some other programs, but internships are highly recommended. Internships are a really great way to test out your interest in a career. So hands-on experience is useful. Hands-on experience in an internship is great. And then also hands-on experience for somebody who's interested in a healthcare career. We have a lot of students who are interested in physical therapy, who are interested in becoming medical doctors, physicians, dental hygienists. The list goes on. Every medical profession you can name, we have students who are interested in that. Getting hours, observation hours, getting volunteer hours in over that first year, even if they've done some already in high school, ongoing volunteering, observations, shadowing, that hands-on learning is going to be the best way for them to know whether that's a good fit or not so much. Especially if we have students who are interested in healthcare careers where you might encounter blood. I have at least one student every year who tells me, okay, Mike, I saw blood. I was not okay with it. And so that's an important thing, getting that hands-on experience.
Yes, Mike, I was one of those students. So getting those experiences to be able to say, no, that's not what I want. Yeah, can be just as important as finding out, okay, this is my passion. This is what I want. And it's so great that you support students in that process, because one of the questions that was coming in is, if I want to do volunteering while in college, how do I balance that with a full course load? And are there resources that you all actually help students in finding volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So I could spend a whole hour talking about just that, because it's an area that our university is actually really proud of and does really well in. But I'll keep it short. So we actually have an academic requirement called the civic engagement requirement. And this is a class where students will earn credit for volunteering in the local community. So it is in context with the class. For example, if you're taking an ethics class, you might be doing something around raising awareness on an issue, or maybe it's animal ethics, maybe it's healthcare ethics, it's something. But volunteering is part of the academic requirement at Pacific. Students can actually build that into their schedule during the time they're taking that class. If a student is not taking a civic engagement class yet, or they've already taken one and they want to volunteer, we actually have a whole center. It's called McCall Center for Civic Engagement. And that center helps students to find those volunteer opportunities. We have many on campus and a lot of off-campus opportunities here in Forest Grove. Our Center for Civic Engagement is actually closely tied to the Advising Center, partly because we're co-located. We're literally right next door. And the person who oversees the entire McCall Center for Civic Engagement actually oversees the entire academic and career advising operation as a whole unit. And so we're closely tied together in terms of that structure. So students really benefit from getting those conversations around volunteering during their advising sessions. And because students are required to meet with their advisor every term before they register again, they're not going to be able to get away from not doing civic engagement, or not thinking about internships, or not thinking about careers. All of those things are really closely tied together.
Yeah, that wraparound approach. Mike, what could any family member do for a student that they feel might be struggling, especially academically, but when that student might be too shy, or whatever reason it may be, not asking for help? What sort of resources do these supporters have?
Yeah, I love this question because students in the last couple of years have been less frequently asking for help. But we encourage that. I mean, we hope that's why you choose Pacific, because we're a small liberal arts school. We can provide a lot of one-on-one support. Pacific is kind of like Hogwarts. Help is available to those who ask for it. That's 2 Harry Potter references today. Look at me. But really, the number one thing that you can do is actually empower them to ask a trusted person on campus. Ask them, who have you told about this yet? Or can you please at least tell one instructor? Tell your RA. An RA is a resident assistant who will live on the same floor in the same wing as your student in the residence halls. Talk to somebody in an office. Walk into any office and just see if you can sit down with somebody. So empowering them to do that, number one. Number two, if it's a parent who has a contact with somebody at Pacific, it's okay to reach out and say, hey, just want to give a quick heads up. I talked to my student, they're struggling with this. While we aren't able to share details or deep academic record stuff due to FERPA, which is actually a federal law that protects their academic privacy, we'll be able to make sure that student can get connected with resources. We can have somebody reach out to them. We have an academic early alert system. So students who may be not attending classes, there will be an alert that goes to their advisor and it goes to our academic success coordinator to track that student down, make sure nothing is going wrong, or if something is, what can we do to help? And then we have a care referral system where instructors or any staff or even the general public can submit a care referral. And then we have a care team that will follow up with the student. And we do very intentional, delicate, supportive follow-up. So we're not going to come down on it like it's punishment. We have an assistant dean. His name's Justin. He actually does the care system referral follow-ups, and he's excellent. So there are a lot of wraparound supports for students. And as long as we know, as long as one person knows what's going on, or as long as an instructor can tell something's going on with the student, there's going to be an intervention pretty quickly, and we're going to try to help out wherever we can.
So one other question of support is student athletes and navigating, building a schedule, and maybe being in that on season where there's that traveling with the team. Can you talk a little bit about the support for student athletes and scheduling around some of those obligations?
Yeah, absolutely. So student athletes will have a practice schedule, a competition schedule, and then an academic activity set of some kind. Many teams, I know football does, they have study tables, and students are frequently checking in with their coaches, whether it's their position coach or an upper division, upperclassman. All sports have this mentorship thing going on with upper level students and incoming students. So if a student is wanting to be intentional about balancing academics and athletics, number one is they have to be honest with themselves about how much time they're putting into academics. We see in first semester, about halfway through the semester, students who are just exhausted from a sport like football or volleyball or soccer or what have you, and the midterms are coming up. That's the time where it's a little bit tough because you have to balance studying with traveling or study with something else. So I think that recognizing it is important, and then asking for support. Instructors and professors at Pacific, we have really small class sizes, right? So their students and faculty can literally look each other in the eye every day as they talk to each other in the classroom. If a student can be honest with their instructor, or if they can even let them know, hey, I had a rough week, practice was rough, or hey, we're traveling. Open communication is vital. And then support can come in wherever that support needs to.
Thank you, Mike. Another question of support is study abroad. Building that schedule, how does your office support going away for school? Do those credits transfer back?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yes, they can, and yes, they do. And it's common for students to study abroad and earn credit abroad. Certain majors will have certain institutions abroad that will work really well. and others that'll be a little bit more challenging. So for any student, depending on where they want to go and depending on their major, something can be worked out. Even for science majors can study abroad and still graduate on time. I'm really proud of Pacific being able to have students study abroad and still graduate on time. I'm actually a graduate of Oregon State University, and I had 5 or 6 friends who studied abroad. Every single one of them took an extra term or more. Some of them took an extra year. Here at Pacific, the vast majority of students will stay on track to graduate in 4 years if they're abroad. And if they're talking to us and they're strategizing it and planning it, it's going to be easy to do. There are many opportunities to study abroad during a fall or a spring. Also, opportunities for a winter and a summer. So if a summer works better, great. If a winter travel, like a 3-week winter travel works better, great. Either way, all of that falls into that same experience of being able to study abroad. We have an Office of International Programs, and that office coordinates that whole process. If you have a student who's thinking about studying abroad and they let us know on their way into Pacific, we can make sure that they know the deadline for them to start talking to international programs. Usually it's going to be sophomore year, and study abroad happens in junior year or in senior year. But the sophomore year is when decisions are made, and the sophomore year is when applications are put into those institutions. Make sure you have your passport, make sure you have paperwork done, all of that stuff. But we have the Office of International Programs who specializes in all of this stuff for our students.
Yeah, we know someone, and we have a whole Rolodex of people that we can just keep referring and building the community for students. That's fantastic, Mike. Okay, one of the final questions that I have you as we've been wrapping up on the questions being asked is, what is the one piece of advice that you would give any student to see success at Pacific?
Yeah, I think we've said it, and it's actually to get engaged, get involved, get some hands-on experience. Say yes to something that would make you feel uncomfortable. Say yes to a volunteer opportunity. Say yes to an invitation from a faculty member to talk to them at office hours. Say yes to that potential volunteer thing over summer. That's where the magic happens. It's where people lean into being uncomfortable, and students in their first semester, it's going to feel uncomfortable, and it's normal to do that. So get involved, get engaged. That's actually the number one predictor of success in college, is how engaged you are. How many student activities you're involved in doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you are doing something. So it doesn't mean you have to be, doing music and athletics and you're volunteering and you have a part-time job. Like, just pick your things and do a few things really well. It's not about a scatter shot. It's about finding a few things and sort of carving your way. But Pacific is a place where you really can carve your way, and you really can connect with people who are just invested in your success. We also have, like, anywhere you walk on campus, you can find an expert on something. So if your student's interested in something that seems, maybe not an academic topic, I guarantee there's somebody on campus who also wants to talk about that forever.
Yeah, geek out. Well, Mike, thank you so much. This wraps up our session today, our Lunch with a Boxer session. So, we really appreciate your time, Mike, the families, students that have been able to jump on or tune in. We know that your time is valuable and you can't get that back. So we appreciate you spending time learning with us, gaining that information, gaining that knowledge. That's going to set you up for so much success, just as Mike has really outlined for us today. So next week, we have a very important guest as well. It's going to be our Housing and Residence Life Office coming in to talk about all things living and supporting that campus living experience here at Pacific University. So we're going to have Andra Dennis and Lindsay Blem next week, same time, same Zoom link. And if you're joining us on recording, you'll see that popping up soon after the event happens. So we thank you for stopping in today. Feel free to reach out to myself, any of my colleagues, or any of the Pacific community if you need more one-on-one support. We're always happy to give it.